Good morning everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new. My name is Cooper of Cooper's Mobile Mechanics, and today we're going to be changing the timing belt and water pump on this Skoda Yeti. So firstly I'll start by running the engine, just make sure there was no knocks and bangs first before doing the job, and also did a fault memory check just to see if there's any fault stored in the system, because the last thing you want to do is do the job, then do a fault memory check after, see if there's faults in there, and you'll be unsure whether they were there before or whether they've come on since doing the timing belt. So I find it's always best to just double check first. Now this particular engine is the 2 litre common rail CFHC engine code, this one is, but you'll find that pretty much all the common rail engines, the process is basically the same. So to start off with, up top I've got the engine cover off. I just want to get everything out of the way here, because your timing belt is down here. So I want to get the fuel filter up and out of the way, get the header tank, coolant header tank out of the way, get the screen wash bottle, just pull it over here a little bit, and then you basically just want to get all this out of the way and your engine mounts under there. So then we'll attack that after. The fuel pipes can be a little bit tricky to get off. Luckily these ones were absolutely fine. They're colour coded, so you can't get them the wrong way around. But what you want to do, there's these little tabs here. There's one on the side. You want to push the pipe down, squeeze those tabs, and then pull it up. Like I say, sometimes they can be a little bit stiff. And then what I do, just to stop fuel from dripping out, is I just get my glove, and I'm just going to wrap this glove over there, cable tie it, just to act like a bit of a bag, basically, to keep it nice and clean. And then what I like to do, once you've got everything off, is get everything here that was together, and I'll just pull it over like that. And that just keeps everything out the way and gives you a nice lot of room to work with. So next up, just want to take this bracket off here, the 213mm, get that off. I'm going to get the engine mount off. So first we need to get underneath and support the engine. Now that the under tray is off, what I'm going to do, you don't have to do this, but I take the sort of like a sound deadening on the bottom of the sump. I get that off and out the way, just to save any mess, because when you drain the coolant, chances are it's all going to go behind here, collect up, and this is just going to be sodden. So I'll get this out the way. You got a screw there, and then somewhere up here got a little clip up there, got a couple of these, and this is the reason why we're doing the timing belt and water pump today. You can just see the evidence of coolant leak, that is coming from the water pump. So obviously that's all going to be changed while we're doing the timing belt. Next I'm going to get this wheel arch liner out of the way. So you just got a few screws holding it all around here, and there'll be a couple sort of underneath there as well. Get that out of the way, and then you've got access to the bottom crank pulley and the auxiliary belt and everything. Get a nice load of room to work in. So now we've got some nice clear room to work with. I'm going to push the auxiliary belt tensioner over, and get the belt off. Usually what you do is you push it over and then get a pin. So you can see that hole there, that hole back there, you get a pin and that will lock the tensioner over and just keep it out of the way for the belt. However, the pushed over there, it's going to be in the way of your lower timing cover. So I'll just push the tensioner over, get the belt off, and then let the tensioner swing back, and it keeps it out of the way. Then we can get the crankshaft pulley off with just these 4 bolts here. And then once that's out of the way, I want to get this coolant pipe out of the way. So I'm just going to take out that 10mm nut. There'll be another one, a 10mm bolt holding it up at the top part of the engine mount, sorry. And then once I've got that out of the way, I'm going to take out the bottom engine mount bolt while I'm here. So there'll be that one there, and then there'll be a couple more at the top. So the other 10mm bolt was just in there holding this coolant pipe on. So I want to take the pipe off from here, and then I'm going to drop that down, drop all the coolant into a tub. If you haven't got a set of these are a brilliant tool. They're ideal for coolant pipe clips. When you squeeze them, they're the right shape, so they'll lock into the tabs, and then they just lock in place, so you can move them around. It just keeps it out of the way. Much better than messing around with pliers. now we're at the stage where we want to take the engine mount off. So it's got my jack underneath the engine with a nice big rubber block to support it. I'm just going to get the top timing cover off. So there's just 3 clips, one there, and then one down there. Get those off, and that should just pop off like that. And then, like I say, I've just got these 2 bolts to take out. I'm going to take that bolt out, and then that one and that one. Get this part of the engine mount off, and then you've got the mounting that's actually bolted to the engine. Got a couple of bolts there and back there. Now we've just got a T30 there, and then you've got 4 more there, and there. Take out. Then you've got then you can take the bottom timing cover out. Once that's out, everything's clear, and we can attack the belt and water pump. Now you can see there again more evidence of the coolant leaking. That's your water pump here, all leaking at the bottom. You can see it's all just been gathering down. So now it's time to time up the engine and lock it in place. So the way I do these, I'll start by locking up the camshaft pulley and the high pressure fuel pump. I do these first. What you tend to find on a lot of these, if you lock the crank first, these are usually a little bit out. So I normally pin these first, and then when it comes down here, you can turn the crank over and slot it in where it should be. So these are the pins that we're using for the top. So camshaft pulley should lock in there like that, and then the high pressure fuel pump, you've got, hopefully you can see down there, so you've got a hole in the block, and there's like a U-shaped notch on the fuel pump itself. So you want to slip the pin in there to lock that off as well. Once they're in, then we want to do the crankshaft. So you can see up there, see that little line, little notch on the sprocket. Now there's 2 different tools for this kit, and you need to make sure you use the right one. So it all depends on where the notch is on the sprocket. So you see that arrow there, you want the notch to line up with the arrow. So on this particular one, that line is in line with, on the sprocket, it's the top part. So that will line up. So if it's on the top part there, it will line up with this arrow. Other ones, the line might be at the bottom. So then it will be this tool here. So get rid of that. I want to get this one in place. So now that we've got the crank locked up, we've got the cam locked up, and we've got the high pressure fuel pump locked up, we know that everything's in place and it's not going to move. So the next thing to do is slacken off. You've got 3 outer bolts for the sprocket and the high pressure fuel pump. You're going to slacken those off. Slacken these 3 off, and then you can undo the tensioner, push it over, and get the belt off. What you can also do to make life easier is get this roller out. You're going to be changing that anyway, it all comes with the kit. But you see how it just causes a little bit of tension on the belt, so getting that out will just make the belt a lot more slack, a lot easier to get off. And then also getting on, what I tend to do is I'll leave this out, I'll get the belt on, and then put that in after. But I'll show you all that in a bit. Getting the belt off and then back on again, easiest way I find to do it. I believe this is what it says in the repair instructions anyway. So let's say you got these slacked off, slackened off the tensioner, and just moved it over. So it's kind of starts off here, and just push that over, gives you a lot of slack. Got this idler pulley out. I take the belt off from the water pump first, and then once that's off, you can just sort of go around and get the rest of it off. And then when it comes to putting it all back together again, I'll put everything around, and then that will be the last part I'll put on, is on the water pump. One thing to check on these is your studs for the tensioner, and then down there there's another idler roller that I've already taken off. Check the stud on there. This one on the tensioner, when I took it off, you could feel a little bit of wiggle up and down. So I'm going to swap that out, swap that one out as well, put new ones in. I've got my bag of bits that came with the cam out kit. So we've got a couple of new studs, new nuts to go on the tensioner and the rollers, and then we got 3 new bolts for the high pressure fuel pump and the camshaft pulley. And for the water pump, we've got 3 bolts holding it in. Got 2 down there, and we've got 1 up there somewhere. There it is. We'll just take those out, wiggle the water pump out, and then let all the coolant drain out for a little while and clean everything up as well. Now these water pumps come with a little black rubber seal on them, rather than sort of a big gasket on a lot of them. What I've always done with these is just put a smear of grease around there. I use multi-purpose grease. You could probably use other things like red rubber grease or something like that, but that's really, it's not to seal it up, but it's just to stop it from the seal from snagging. So when you're putting it in, if it goes in dry, you run the risk of it sort of catching and snagging on the seal as it goes in, then this water pump's going to leak. So I'll just put a smear of grease on there just to help slip it in nicely. And I've just got 3 new bolts to go in. So I'll get that in, get them all torqued up. I'm just going to check E3 technical for the torque settings and just start building it all back together. Alright, so the water pump is all torqued up. They're at 15 newton meters. Got that bottom idler, that's torqued up to 20 newton meters. And I've got this big idler here, and that is 50 newton meters plus 90, a further 90 degrees. Then I'm just going to get the tensioner on, but I'm not going to torque that up yet because we just want to sort of keep it slacking out the way. So locating wise, you've got a tab there which locates down into that little slot there, you can see. So all I've done here, I've got the tensioner on, I've just pushed it all the way over so that it's at its most slack position, and then just nipped that nut up. And I'm going to swap over the 3 bolts on there and the 3 bolts on there. Now I've got the belt on, you can see still slack. So as I said before, put it onto the water pump last. So what I'll do, hook it onto the crankshaft pulley up here, over the tensioner, and over the camshaft sprocket onto the high pressure fuel pump, and then the water pump is the last one I do. And then I'll get this little idler and I'll put that in last. So now it's time to tension up the belt. So again, I've still got the slack, because what you want when you tension up the belt, obviously, is going to push it over that way, and the sprocket itself will move. You can see there, as you move the belt, the sprocket moves, which is fine. If you're doing this, don't panic, because the camshaft is locked in. Camshaft itself is tightened up, it's just the sprocket that's moving, but that just allows you, when you tension it, it'll just put nice even tension all along the belt. So essentially you're not getting all the tension on one side and then it's slack on this side, if that makes sense. So as you turn the tensioner over, these will move over that way a little bit. So you get a 6mm Allen key, pop it in there. You're going to wind it over clockwise, and then what you're looking for, see that little notch here? There'll be an arrow that when you turn it over, it will come over and line up. Now what I've always done, what I was told when I was working at SEAT and at VW, was just to tension it so that the arrow goes slightly past it and then back it off onto there. And then once that's there, that you can then tighten this nut up and torque it up. That's all done and torqued up. The tensioner pulley, that nut is torqued up to 20 newton meters plus 45 degrees. Same as these 3, 20 newton meters plus 45 degrees. And then these 3 are 20 newton meters, same as that one there. Now that that's all done, you get your tools out. I'm going to turn it over by hand a couple of times, just make sure the tools go back in, make sure it's all nicely timed up, and then yeah, I can just start reassembling it, put it all together, get the coolant in and bled up, and get the engine running. That's all done. Engine's now running. Just again checking the fault memory after, just make sure everything's okay, and that's all a good sign. Look, there's no faults in there, so I'm just going to let this run, get the coolant all bled through, and then I'll stamp the service book as well, just for the record of the time about being done. I have got a service and a brake fluid change and a Haldex service to do on this one as well, but for today I just wanted to film just the timing belt, just from start to finish basically. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, hopefully you found it interesting or useful if it's a job that you're thinking of tackling yourself, or if you've got no interest in doing the job at all, but you just wanted to see how it was done. Again, hopefully you found it interesting at least. If you have, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, please. And if you are already subscribed, just share it around with friends and family, let them know. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.